Welcome to Oh, the People You Meet. My name is Stephanie Richardson, and I am so very glad that you are here. We started this podcast because I get to meet people in the coolest places, whether it's the coffee shop, Chick-fil-A, school, kids' functions, random coffee shops, wherever it is. I get to meet some of the coolest people. And what's so cool about meeting these people is I get to hear their stories. And whenever I hear their stories, I'm like, whoa. Like, God is like real. He's here. He's so present because I see him working through their lives. And I'm like, it just makes me feel closer to the Lord. And so because I've been able to meet these cool people in my life, I thought I would love to share their stories with you so that you would feel closer to the Lord, that you would have encouragement, that you would feel a sense of peace with whatever you're going through right now. And so I'm so excited to welcome Megan Wilson. Megan, hello.
Hello.
So fun.
It is fun.
Okay, so usually how we start these podcasts is we say how we met.
Okay.
So we met at Baylor.
At Baylor.
And probably because we were in the same dorm our freshman year, but then we were both in the center. And I remember seeing you a little bit at the center. We were in different sororities.
Yes.
Probably at the same parties sometimes.
Yes. I remember hiding in my car from you because I was taking a roommate to a Rush event, which was a big no-no. But, so she was hiding in my car, and then I was like, "There's Stephanie! Hide!" So
With the center?
Yes, because we were afraid that someone would know that we were not supposed to be traveling together. It was ridiculous, but I remember that very well.
Oh,
but yeah, we did.
From me, yeah.
Well, not because I thought you would tattle on me, because I felt guilty for breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules. And so then all of a sudden, after college, we end up working at the same place.
Yes, so fun.
So fun. Little bitty mom pop operation, and we sold ski trips for church groups and Young Life and that sort of thing. And there were 8 of us in the office.
It was
total?
such a young, fun office.
Oh my gosh. And it was fun. And we got like snack Mondays. We would get chips and queso brought to the office. And we celebrated all the birthdays with all the good cakes. And we just had such a fun time. Like,
it was so fun.
It was like people our age having a blast.
And we got to go to the ski resorts and
ski or not ski. We could if we wanted to, or not ski. And it was so fun.
It was a great first job.
It was really fun. And then we went through kind of being single together. And then, you were there after I came home and I got engaged. You were there. You met us at the airport. And it's just fun to go through all that. And then we have babies and we stay home with our kids, and we still get together, every so often and have our sports travel lunch, and that's super fun. So you grew up in Dallas?
Yes, I grew up in Dallas, neighborhood Lakewood. Grew up with all my family, all extended family was always around. Grandparents, both sides. I lived very close to one set of grandparents. We could walk and go swimming at their pool. Tons of cousins.
It's like a really neat,
close-knit
family. And one cool thing about your family that I learned was that your mom fostered babies.
Yes.
Like babies.
Yes.
And a lot of them, that's the craziest thing, because I would never want to foster a baby because I could not even handle my own babies. Like, when I think of people that foster babies, I'm like, bless you. Like, you're choosing to not sleep. You're choosing to, be with a crying baby. A lot of those babies have been on drugs, and so you're having to go through a lot of that stuff. But tell me what that was like growing up with that.
I mean, of course I didn't register how hard that was until I had my own children. And then I'm like, wow, she did this. She took on these infants. But what she did, we were a foster family through Hope Cottage. Okay. Basically we were what is now called a transition home, and they kind of don't do that anymore. So it was not like emergency placement.
Okay.
It was like, there was a home, there were adoptive parents waiting, but there was, for whatever reason, couldn't go directly to them. So there would be a foster family for a few weeks, maybe months.
Okay.
And then getting all the red tape, all the, whatever needed to be done. And then they would go to their adoptive family. So it was like from the the bio mom to the adoptive mom. We were just kind of that transition home.
Oh, that's so cool. So you
Yes.
grew up with like a lot of babies in your home. Did you
Yes.
ever have other kids in your home, like other foster kids, or was it mostly just those babies in transition?
It was mostly babies. I do remember maybe a 3-year-old. And then I do remember a 7-year-old. And I was probably 10 when the 7-year-old was there. And I mean, that child had seen a lot. So I remember that kind of being a big adjustment for our family, because it was the same age as my brother and he had a really hard life. And so I think that, I mean, we tried to stick with babies.
Yeah, that was just kind of easier for your home. Or
Yes.
y'all were. I just can't imagine babies just because they're not even sleeping at night, you know. And so
Yes.
they're constant care. So you go to Baylor
Yes.
and you're working at Sports Travel, and then you get married and you have 3 kids of your own.
2.
Two kids of your own. Yes. And you know, you're going about your business, being a stay-at-home mom. The kids are now in school, and then what?
So I think it was like 2010, and my youngest was going to kindergarten, so finally full day. And we were actually driving home from Colorado. We had been in Colorado for a little summer vacation, and we were driving home, and we left really early, and the kids were asleep. And Trey and I were very quiet, you know, driving through these tiny little Colorado towns.
So cute. Yeah.
Loving it. But just kind of not talking yet. And out of the blue, he said, I think we need to be doing more as a family. And I thought, and I knew exactly what he meant. And we kind of had conversations like what that might look like. And I had, in the back of my mind, thought about fostering several times. I mean, it's a seed that was planted in my childhood, so it always kind of was back there.
Right.
But I didn't really think there was any way to convince someone else who hadn't experienced it that it would be so much fun.
So much fun to foster babies and have, like, you don't know if they're coming to your house or not. And it'll be a blast.
So I was like, I don't really know how to bring this up with him. But on that trip, when he said that to me, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is stirring in him too, something. And he said, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what it should look like. You know, I probably will defer to you, but like, let's figure out what we can do as a family that exposes our kids to something outside of their bubble.
Yeah.
And we came home from that trip. About a week later, we heard a sermon. And I lost it. It was about the Good Samaritan and finding yourself in the story of the Good Samaritan. And I was trying to figure out all the ways that I was stopping to help. And I was really just the people walking by, passing. And it just struck a huge chord. And I was a mess. And my husband was like, oh my gosh. And my
What is wrong with you?
My kids were like, Mom. And I just came home and I said, I think I'm tired of passing by. Like, we need to get involved. And I would like to explore this option. And so that summer we started the training.
And the training, like, because I've been through that training, it's 30 hours at least of training, not convenient,
Right.
you know, for a busy life of 2 kids that,
Right.
you know, have activities and all that.
And
kind of
obviously both parents
Both
train,
parents
so
have
you
to
get
go.
babysitters.
Yes,
and
you have to pay for babysitters and you have to go to these trainings. And I just felt like that training, I was like, I wish every parent had gone through this training. I don't know if you felt like that, but I wish every parent, before they let that baby go home with you
Yes.
in the hospital, should have to go through that training, because I felt like, oh wow, that's so, I got so many good nuggets. Did you feel like that?
Yes, there's so many good nuggets.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the time when I'm hearing these great nuggets, all I can think about is how I've messed it up.
Pretty screwed up. Okay.
on my olders.
Yeah,
I'm like,
put more money in the therapy jar, right? Because I'm always
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'll have to pay for your therapy later. It's fine.
Yes.
It's really fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're going through these classes, but also in those classes, I think it also is a little scary too, because they don't sugarcoat what you're about to go through. I don't feel like.
Right. And because my parents had done a transitional home, I didn't realize what an emergency placement foster home really was. That is not what we did as a family. And so that was real eye-opening. Like, this could be in the middle of the night. This child is, you know, and I think in my mind, I was thinking drug exposure or, you know, parents.
Well, that's all they talk about. They talk about RAD. They talk about the drug, you know, the drug exposure, like, you know, all the worst case scenarios. And you're like, are there any positive scenarios in this? You know, you know?
So our very first child was a child burned.
Oh, that's right.
And that, I remember thinking, this is not
what I signed up for.
No, like parents doing drugs. I had prepared my children for parents making bad choices. A child just needs a safe place to be for a little bit. I mean, these are the words that I had used with my own kids. And then this child who has been hurt came to our home, and my daughter, who was younger, you know, she's like a baby, you know, and it just kind of went right over her head. My son, who was 7 or 8 at the time, maybe 9, I can't remember exactly, but he was like, how did this happen? Like, who was in charge? And that is when I was like, oh, what have we done? Like, more money to the therapy jar. Like, it was just, that was very overwhelming.
Because he was like freaked. He didn't understand like how a parent could do that to their child, or he was
no, and I didn't want to tell him
that parents sometimes do mean things.
No, I didn't want to tell him that a parent had done. I mean, I was just like, what do I tell this precious, sensitive, like, okay, maybe I do want to keep him in the bubble.
Just kidding. We're gonna go backwards.
Let's go back to the bubble.
Go back to the bubble. That was safe. That was our happy place. We're fine there.
Yeah.
Right?
So it was a lot of hard questions.
Wow. And so how long did you have that first placement?
About 6 weeks.
And then what happened?
And then he returned to family, and it kind of wrecked me emotionally, and my husband, for that matter. I mean, we did not ever go down the path to, like, you know, you can be a foster parent, you can foster to adopt, you can, you know, be like, we want a child, put us on that path. We want to adopt. We were never on either of those paths. We were always, let's just be a foster family. Let's just, and so, you know, all of a sudden we were like, the fierceness to protect was so overwhelming that we were like, we want this child. And we couldn't dream. We didn't understand the process. We were very new. At first foster child, we did not know you know, I mean, children will try to reunify a child with the biological family.
That's their number one goal, is to put them back with their family.
And as a biological parent, I certainly appreciate that.
But also seeing that they've been burned and hurt, you're like, no, we can do better. We can do a better job of taking care of that baby. You know, I'm guessing that's what you were going through, because I was, you know, when we were going through that process, I kept thinking, well, but we have all this stuff. Like, why wouldn't they want to be in our house? And why wouldn't, you know, we have so much love to give, and we have, you know, all these opportunities we can offer them. And, you know, why would you send them back to their parent who burned them? Like, I don't, that just doesn't comprehend, you know, and here I'm an adult. So I can't imagine your kids going to wait, they went back with the family, you know, that would be hard.
Yes. Well, to be clear, he went back to some family, not
his parent or whatever. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it was a huge, I mean, it broke my heart. Broke my heart. There were days when I'd take my 2 to school and go back to bed, and it affected my husband, my children. I mean, we talked a lot with the kids about, oh, it's Halloween. I wonder what he is for Halloween, and prayed for him every night. But I was like, this, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it again.
No, too vulnerable, too, you know. And then and so we kind of took a break. I took our name off the list, and we kind of took a break. And then one of the children, I can't even remember which one, they were like, are we going to get a new baby soon? Are you ready for a new baby, Mom? I'm ready for a new baby, or something like that.
Really?
And I remember thinking, okay, like
They're okay.
they're okay.
Yeah.
Like this is hard, but we are called to do hard things. And I'm like, I'm willing to try this again. And I'm really glad we did. I mean,
so the next placement. So at that point, were y'all thinking like we want to adopt? Or are you still just like, we just want to keep fostering kids? Like that's our heart. We're just going to foster.
yeah, we did. I never allowed myself past foster child number one, to envision us adopting. I just thought I see a little bit of this process. It's not going to happen. There are, so let's just I'm not going to let my heart go there.
Right.
So, and in about 5 or 6 years, we had 9 placements.
9. So would you have them for, were they all babies? Were they different ages? Like how did that work?
I think because I was a stay-at-home mom, I mean, the babies, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it just worked out that way. But I felt like we got mostly babies. The oldest one that was ever placed with us was 9 months. So that's...
Oh, so they were little.
So yeah, I mean, several of them came from the hospital.
And then did you have like babies that had, drug addictions with them that you had to go through that with them? And
we did 2 that did withdrawals, and
did you have one that had broken body parts too?
I mean, there was one in a full body cast, which is, I mean, a newborn in a full body cast. Can you even imagine how that
happens?
I mean, diapers. Think about diapers.
Oh, how do you do that?
You don't want to know. You don't want to know. It's a messy process.
Oh my goodness.
It's just, yeah. But it was like a car seat. I can't even remember the name of the car seat, but they had to lay down in the car seat. I mean, she was fully casted. I think it's called a spica cast or something like that. But
so you like learned how to be a nurse and along with being a foster, and how are your kids doing with the kids going in and out? How are your kids doing with that? Is it just
those were
normal?
always hard days. My oldest didn't want to be there. He learned pretty quickly he did not want to be at the house when they physically left. So we would make arrangements. We would try to have them somewhere else. We tried to just listen to how
they were feeling.
Yeah. I mean, they have needs too, and so we were trying to all kind of be sensitive to that.
Right. And so then you get placed with a certain baby. And what happens?
Like the last certain baby?
The last certain baby. The last certain baby.
Placement 9.
Placement number 9.
So placement number 9 came to us, and 3 weeks old, and drug exposed, tested positive for several things, and the one placement 8 had kind of very similar, and so I felt like, I know how to do this, but it was very different. I mean, like the way that drugs affect their system and digestion and.
So how does it? So for those that don't know, because I don't really know. I mean, I just know that they cry a lot. But what are some?
Well, either they cry, either they're inconsolable, which is what we were told about placement number 9, or our placement number 8, she didn't make a sound. Like she slept probably 23 hours a day. And I'm thinking, this is awesome. The first 24 hours, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm still getting things done. And then you're like, that's not right.
Yeah.
So it could be inconsolable. It can be sleeps way too much. It can be major digestive issues, bloated, diarrhea, not going to the bathroom. I mean, constipation, diarrhea. It can be a million different things. So it's,
It just depends on how they respond. Does it matter what kind of drugs they were on, or is it all kind of the same, withdrawal process? I wonder.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
So number 9 comes in 3 weeks.
So he's 3 weeks old, and we are told immediately that he has family that is actively pursuing. So we're like, okay, we won't have this one long. We know how this goes, and it'll be fine. And then longer and longer and not hearing. We always were in touch with CPS, and he had a CASA, volunteer, and several. I mean, so we always were in the know, but nothing was really progressing. I wasn't hearing anything about progressing with the family. So we had him for several months. About a month in, I got a call that said his newborn blood work showed that he was sickle cell.
Okay.
And then I needed to report to Children's on this day. And luckily, CASA came with me. And that was overwhelming because I realized this child, this is a lot. This is like an education.
Right, because you'd never had a sickle cell baby before. And for those that don't know a lot about that, what exactly is sickle cell?
Well, it's basically how it affects us is if he has a fever, he goes to the ER.
Okay.
Because he's so susceptible to certain bacteria and infections, and they can also be so much more dangerous for him.
Okay.
So
that's like it's a disease where it never goes away. He's always going to have to deal with it. He's like
some of his red blood cells.
If he gets sick, he has to it can get really serious fast.
Yes.
So that's mostly the thing.
Yes.
It's not life threatening, but it's something that could be, I guess, if you don't take care of it. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're at Children's with
a
them.
lot. Yes. We're at Children's learning all of this, and I'm just thinking, okay. And I remember looking at CASA and saying, okay, whoever gets him next, they've got to be in this room. They've got to be in this room with these doctors hearing what I'm hearing. Because this is not, if you don't know, this is serious. You can't just say, here, like, this baby needs extra stuff. Let's make sure we do right by this child. I was just so overwhelmed with the idea of are the people caring for him going to be in this room hearing from these doctors what I'm hearing? Because what I'm hearing is this is a lifelong struggle, and it can be life-threatening. And it's just it's a road that you just don't casually go down.
Right. So
when that happened, and I'm not hearing a whole lot about the what's going on with the family. I know there is family pursuing, but I don't know why it's taking longer than I would have thought. At that point, I remember CPS coming to me one day and saying, "Are you foster to adopt?" And I said, "No." And my husband was sitting there with me, and I said, "No, we're not." And she said, "Are you open to it?" And I said, "Well, sure." And being very mindful that I didn't want to speak for him, I said, "Well, sure, we're open to anything. We just need to talk about it." And then she asked me another question, and my husband, he said, "Hold on, can we go back to that question?" And he said, "We are absolutely motivated to adopt. And if the opportunity presented itself tomorrow, we would do it tomorrow." And
y'all had never talked about that before.
Well, we had talked, not with this child, because my heart, once we went through that heartbreak.
With baby 1.
Yes. And we did it again with baby 8. And so I was like, so we hadn't talked about this particular child. But when he said that, I just remember, I was kind of a puddle. I was just like, okay. So what do we need to do?
Oh, he's on board. Okay, this is what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah. And
well, because when not always in a marriage is everyone on the same path, right? Or the same wavelength. And so especially with going through what y'all have been through, like I can't imagine, I'm sure there were times that you were having to pick each other up, and there was times where you were like gung-ho and he probably wasn't, or vice versa, or whatever, because I know, that's just how marriage is, right? And
right.
So for your spouse to openly say what your heart was saying, but you didn't want to say.
Yeah, I didn't want to speak for him.
Right. But your heart was saying that, but
yeah.
you didn't want to speak for him. And so
right.
that was when you were probably like, okay, this is what we're doing. Yes.
Yes. And it was so, that makes it all sound so technical, but we were in love with this child.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost impossible to not picture your life with this child when they come to you basically from the hospital. And I mean, I knew what my maternal feeling was towards this child. But I didn't want to take for granted that everyone in the family was feeling the same way. But everyone in the family was feeling the same way. This was our child.
Yeah, but you just couldn't. You were probably all a little guarded because of what you'd been through, right? Because you were kind of protecting yourselves, protecting your hearts, because you had to. You were kind of building up that wall.
Yeah, and you can't I mean, it's silly. Like, I feel like we were protecting ourselves, but you can't do foster care correctly with a wall.
Yeah.
You just
You
can't.
have to love them.
Yeah, and you just and I think it was my husband who said said something about letting our heart breaks, sometimes it's worth the heartbreak to benefit someone else. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, we're not going to build, we're going to love these children
right,
like they're our children. Right. And if our heart breaks, and we're going to be okay.
Yeah. Because you had been okay. I mean, you'd done it 8 times before that. But then she's like, what do you want to adopt? He's saying, yes, I want to adopt. And
it's like, hold on. Can we be clear? Whatever you're writing in that file, let it be known, because he's an attorney. Oh. Like, let's be very clear. We are motivated to adopt. Yeah. You just tell us what we need to do.
Yeah.
And so from that meeting on, and I remember thinking, what is going on? What is going on? But it was like, because I don't need to know all the details of what's going on. I just know that, like, we are motivated to adopt. Let's do what we need to do.
But the whole time you're like, but how could it be? Because he's supposed to go back with his family, right? Like, you had thought that.
Yes, that's what I thought.
So then you go through the process because you're motivated to, what is the word?
Motivated to adopt.
Motivated to adopt. And so what happens?
So so at some point they give the biological family, they give the biological parents several months, sometimes up to 18 months to work the services, do whatever they've asked them to do. And at that point, when that had not been done, and so they told us it was moving to termination. So once the parental rights are terminated, there's a window of, I think, 90 days where other family can step up. And so that 90 days was very nerve-wracking. And it's it's such a bizarre roller coaster of emotions, because you go in there and rights are terminated, and you know that has to happen for this child to become yours.
Right.
But I just remember standing in that courthouse, like, sick, thinking, rights are being terminated right now. And
because you didn't want that for those parents. Like,
no,
because you're a parent and you're thinking, I can't imagine my rights being terminated, and allowing someone else to take over my babies, you know?
So it is a very bittersweet roller coaster of emotions that feel very natural at times and very unnatural at times.
Yeah. And so baby number 9.
Yes.
Gets adopted by y'all.
Yes.
And how old is he at that point?
He was 18 months.
So it had been 18 months, an 18-month process for y'all.
Yes.
Not knowing whether or not he was going to be yours, or yes or no, or
yes, whatever. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so, what did the kids think when y'all were like, okay, we're going to adopt baby number 9?
They were like, yes.
They were.
Oh yeah.
They were so excited.
Yes.
And then how far apart is he than your?
So my oldest is 17. Wait, you mean at that time?
At that time.
Oh gosh, I'd have to do
that.
that.
Okay, well now.
Okay, so now. So my oldest is 17, my middle is 14, and he is 5.
5.
Mm-hmm.
14
just
and
turned
5. 5. He's big time.
He's telling everyone, I just turned 5.
So that's a pretty big gap.
It's a big gap,
right?
Yeah.
She's 9. Evelyn's 9 when you have him. When he's, I guess, yeah, that's a big difference, age difference, right?
Yes.
And so you're
like, but I have helpers.
And so you're like, yes, I'm almost like empty nesting, and you're like, oh, just kidding, we're starting over.
Yes.
What did you call it?
A reboot.
Your reboot.
We rebooted, And
and now, before you were like the young mom, and now you're like the old mom.
Yeah. Like I just moved to progressive lenses because one of the reasons was because I had to pull my readers out at preschool orientation. It's not right. And I'm like, just keep them in your purse. And I'm like, I can't see. So I pulled them out, and it was ridiculous.
So progressive now. Welcome to the progressives. I just was there a year ago, so I feel it.
Yeah, I'm not.
And so, what is it like now with your family? Like, I mean, y'all aren't fostering anymore because now you have kind of your forever family, and you're kind of like, this is, kind of helping all that transition and stuff. And so I want to talk about something that we've talked about a little bit. You haven't shared baby number 9's name. Do you want to share baby number 9? Cameron.
Yes, sorry.
So Cameron is 5.
Yes.
He's African American.
Yes.
You live in a very white world.
Yes.
So I think something was really interesting about that was the preschool that your kids had gone to, all of both of them, and you were really involved in. You looked around and you were like, this is not where he can go. He can't go here.
You know what? He could have gone there.
Right.
He absolutely could have. It's an amazing place.
Right.
I loved it for my children. I went there.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place. Because of his sickle cell, and there were several reasons. One of them was I wanted a nurse on campus at all times because he's sickle cell and asthma, and that can present some problems. So I was like, I want a nurse on site. That was one of my thoughts all the time, like not just a floater, I want someone there. But also Trey and I both are very intentional in different ways. But one of the ways that we decided to be intentional is his pediatrician is African American. His gymnastics coach is African American. The school where my olders went, there are no African American there are no teachers or administration African American, and every once in a while there would be children. I wasn't worried. I wanted to be intentional about him seeing African American in all roles, leadership, and I also wanted him at a school where leadership. Yeah. He sees leadership. He sees teachers. He sees children. It should have been on my radar all my life, honestly. Right. It should always be on our radar. But unfortunately, until I realized, and I still don't realize, but I'm trying to learn and educate myself. But he needs he needs to be surrounded by all cultures. But I want him to see African American leadership roles, doctors, coaches, teachers, right? His principal. The head of his school. It's just important to me,
right?
So
that's so cool.
That is one of the ways. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess you don't really think about it until you're in it, and then you're like, oh wow, like he always, if he's in all, Caucasian place, he's gonna feel like I'm different, and every kid feels different for some reason, right? Their nose is crooked, or they have, whatever, freckles, or we all have things, but I think also I love the fact that it's not just the kids, it's the leadership, it's the people that are feeding into him and loving him, and that to me, that's a totally different thing than I would have ever thought of, right?
Mm-hmm. And all my life I feel like I've been taught that race doesn't matter, that race doesn't hold you back, that race, and all of these things are great to know and learn, but at some point it shifted where it does matter. Like, I can't say, I would be doing my son a disservice if I said, the world is colorblind, I love you no matter what. I have to acknowledge that his path is going to look very different, and it's going to feel very different than my 17-year-old's path.
Right. Well, he's adopted too. That's another thing too. But then, it's just different. And we live in the South, and that that probably plays into it a little bit as well. But so what is it like as a family now? I mean, your reboot, I mean, other than you having progressives and none of your friends have it.
Well, they're better than readers.
Readers.
Like the grainy
Because
readers.
no one knows that you have progressives.
Right. No one knows how magnified it is down here.
That's really smart.
Yeah. Life is great. I mean, it's busy. It's high school, junior high, and preschool. And he definitely is an older 5-year-old because he has a 17-year-old in the house, and he speaks. I mean, it's a teenage house. He goes to bed too late. We don't eat dinner at 5 like we're supposed to, or whatever. I mean, his lights are never out at 7:30. So we're definitely in an older home.
Yeah.
But it's good, and he is doing really well. And
That's so amazing. I love that story so much. So tell me, like, if someone wanted to foster to adopt or straight adoption, like what path do you usually tell them when people come to you and say, like, hey, this is what we need to do? What does that first step look like for people?
Well, there are several agencies,
right?
So many agencies that you can get licensed through. Our church had a relationship with Buckner, so I knew of Buckner. I was very aware of that relationship and kind of what I thought I knew what they did, but I really didn't. Right. But so that was my first call.
Okay, so finding and then how did you find? What made you choose the agency that you did choose? Like, does that make sense? Because
yes.
You had the church, so that was probably just like word of mouth. But I didn't know if there was anything else. Like, if someone doesn't have that, I wonder. Like,
okay,
I think ours was maybe word of mouth when we went through our agency. It must have been someone that was working with, because we took it at our church, so they must have been working with our church too at the time. Because we went to foster
right before us,
right before y'all foster care. Right before y'all did. And so we did it at our church too. But I just didn't know if there was like something you've told people from here on out, like, hey, look for this in an agency, or no. Just find one and get the training
honestly,
done.
I chose it because it was a nighttime training.
Yeah.
And it was like Thursday nights in the evening, and it was over like 6 weeks or however many, I don't even remember now. But and I'm like, oh, we can do evenings.
We can do, yeah.
Like Saturdays at that point, we were full of
I think
soccer
we did
games.
Saturday. Like, it was Saturday and Sunday, and it was like a full weekend or something, and maybe 2 weekends. I don't know. It was a lot. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of training. And then you have to get certified every year. So then it came back really fast. Like, oh gosh, we got to get certified again.
Yes.
And so that's one way to foster. Another thing is, Jeffrey's a CASA advocate right now.
Oh my gosh.
And he, my husband is a CASA advocate now. And so he went through the training again, to do that. And so what they do, for those that don't know, is they're like, so you have CPS that's kind of in charge of the case. There's really no one that's in charge of the kid, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure the kid has everything that they need, the child. And so the CASA is like the advocate for the child.
Yes.
And so that's another way to help.
Yes.
Another way to help would probably be respite.
Yes, that's huge, actually.
Yeah.
You go through training, and I kind of think there's a lot. I know there's fingerprinting, but to go through training to be respite. So, because as a foster parent, I can't just hire a babysitter for my foster child.
And you can't go out of town and leave it with your parents
no, unless they've been trained and fingerprinted and all of that stuff. So respite is huge, because if you need a babysitter, if you need to go out of town, you need resources, right. And so that's a great help.
Yeah. So those are 3. Is there any other areas you think of? Like, is there an organization that you like to give to, or you suggest people to give to, or is there any other things that you've learned, any other organizations? Because I want to point our people to other like. I really feel like I want to help, but I can't help this way, but I can't help this way. Those 3 probably the best. I mean, volunteer.
I think so. I mean, other than if you know a foster family, other than surrounding them with meals and doing the things that you would do to any other family that would be having a child. That's huge. If that is what you do, if you know of a family in your church or in your neighborhood that is fostering, and you just, you rally around and do a meal train, that's huge. Those kind of things, because it's not coming from home from the hospital necessarily, but it's a huge transition. It's still a baby,
right? Yeah,
in your life, and it changes everything. And so, I think the people who just showed up with meals were a huge blessing to me.
And diapers, probably too. Yes. Okay, so I ask all of my people a couple questions. So one thing is, what is something fun you're loving these days? Like, what is something you're kind of into these days? Do you think other than
fun and loving? I mean, I annoy my children. That's fun. I'm really good at that.
You're good at getting the eye roll?
Yes, I get a lot of eye rolls.
Professional.
Something fun. My husband and I love live music, so we don't get to do it very much, but we, last year we snuck away to Arizona and did a music festival, or we'll see shows here. I mean, that's something fun that we like to do, and, makes us feel a little bit younger than we are. Or not, whatever.
Coming really, really. Is there anything you're reading right now that you like, if you have time? I know you
The book on my nightstand is called Sing, Unburied, Sing. And it's by Jesmyn Ward. Mm-hmm. And it's a little dark. Okay. But one of the ways that my husband is very intentional about race relations, is he makes sure that he reads like 10 books to my one. But he makes sure he's reading Black authors. He makes sure that he's reading about the Black African American experience, life experience. So every once in a while, he'll finish a book and hand it to me and say, this is one I highly recommend. And so this is one that he passed over to my side of the bed and said,
and it's called
Sing, Unburied, Sing.
Sing?
Sing.
Oh, Sing,
yeah.
Unburied, Sing.
Yes.
Okay. And then what is your favorite parenting advice?
Maybe, first of all, exhale.
So true.
I feel like I walk around like this a lot, but also one thing I'm working on, I don't know if it's great advice if I'm still working on it. I don't know.
It is good advice. Yes.
But trying not to escalate the situation. I'm really good at escalating the situation. So when there's something happening, my reaction sometimes escalates it, and so I'm working on not adding to the chaos, maybe de-escalating.
Okay, so which is part of the exhale.
Yes,
right? If you
maybe
exhale,
big exhale
take a couple
first.
breaths. Yeah. And then if you could have any parenting do-over, what would it be?
Oh, well, when my oldest was 2 and I had newborn little Evelyn, I was not in a great, I did baby blues or postpartum stuff, which is one of the reasons.
Which I don't even think that postpartum, I don't even feel like when our kids, maybe by the time Evelyn was born, but I had that with Will and Jake, and it was not named. I don't feel like it was named, or it wasn't as prevalent.
Baby blues.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it was as. Yeah, I think it was.
Well, my
it
doctor,
was happening, but I don't feel like people were
talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. Right. No, I don't feel like they were either.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that going on, and I was playing Candyland one day, and I yelled at my 2-year-old because he was doing it, 3-year-old because he was playing wrong. That's not funny. Stop laughing. It is not funny, and it's
just those out of body. I don't think you know until you have kids. It's those out of body when you're looking down on yourself, going, "Why are you doing that? Why are you acting that way? Why, you know better." And it's just you can't help it.
So that's probably my parenting do-over. Exhale. And maybe walk away from Candyland for a minute. I don't know. It's so ridiculous.
I'm glad I'm not playing Candyland too long. What about your favorite adult beverage? Beverage in general?
That would be a margarita. Or coffee.
Those are good. Yeah. Those are staples. Coffee, then margarita?
Yeah.
Just that's your day?
Coffee,
then margarita?
Usually margarita first. No, I'm just kidding. Coffee first.
You have a 5-year-old, Duh. What's your favorite travel destination?
Crested Butte, Colorado.
Oh yes, that's where I've gone forever.
Yes, we have, and it's one of my favorite spots on this earth. But it is not my favorite vacation because I don't feel like I'm a beach girl, so I don't feel like. I feel like skiing with children is so much work. And now with a sickle cell child who is very affected by altitude, I am a stress ball every time I'm there. So I love that spot on the earth so much with all my heart. But for me to be like chill and be really unwinding and on vacation, I'm at the beach.
The beach.
My kids call me Sunset Mom at the beach.
Oh, y'all just went to Costa Rica last summer, didn't you? You love it?
They're like, Mom, where's Sunset Mom? Can she come back?
That's right. That was the best.
It's so great.
I'm sorry I introduced you to those bougie things in Costa Rica.
It was amazing.
Okay, what's your favorite healthy snack or meal?
My favorite, I don't know how healthy it is, but hummus.
Hummus, yeah. That's
Love
your favorite.
hummus.
Yeah, into hummus.
But usually it's accompanied with big, thick pita.
Oh, just switch over to veggies. Yeah. Veggies most.
I don't know.
Okay, and then my last question is kind of alongside that. Maybe you found some time, or maybe haven't found some time to work out. What's your favorite workout right now? Do you have a workout favorite right now?
Working out is not my favorite.
Yeah,
but I run.
Oh,
I run to be sane.
That's good.
But I don't. It's not my favorite.
Did you ever run the bear trail at Baylor?
No, who worked out in college?
People did.
Now they do.
No, people did. I did not. I
No.
mean, I would walk it, but other people would run it, and I'm like, why?
I felt like walking to class was a workout. I felt like I got so many steps in. There was no time to work out.
We just didn't need that, and maybe drive to class. I don't know.
Yeah. No.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so encouraged by your story, and I just hope that other people will be encouraged to take that first step and foster, whether it's just helping a neighbor that's a foster parent or actually fostering to adoption, respite, CASA. There's so many ways that you can help, and you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm so helpless. There's something you can do no matter your time, your constraints, your family constraints, whatever you have. There's some way to help. So
there absolutely is.
Thank you.
Yeah.